Oh, what are you doing to me? All right, here we go. How's it? Call to order. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Morello.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Castellano.
Here.
And Penner.
Here.
And Williams is here. Been a while. Good to see you, Mike. All right, we're all accounted for. We have a board. We can have a meeting. Sides. See the whites up to okay. So everyone I assume has seen, I read them. You did send them out to me, August 6, 2024 minutes. Anybody have any questions on them? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, new business tonight. Interesting stuff. Somebody absconded from our board.
Well, your the previous chairman, Mr. Jerry Riggs, has been appointed to the Board of Commissioners.
That's a sly move on some people's parts, I might say, but okay.
And so it is now time, and the board appointed our newest member, Mr. Phil Davis. So welcome to the board.
Thank you.
And but it is up to this board to choose amongst yourself who will serve as the chairman of your board. And so TJ has been serving as the vice chair, which is why he's filling in at the moment. But you need to elect among yourselves a new chairperson who at that point can take over the rest of the meeting.
And I'll lead it off here. Where have I been the last 8 months? Not at too many meetings. Where am I going to be the next 8 months? Not at too many. I'm more happy to be here when I'm here. I am traveling. I am 74. Unlike our mayor, who's younger and better looking, I might add. I am traveling a lot. I'm more happy to be on board, even if at some point, as Jane told me once, you could always be an alternate. Something came up. I'm not looking at leaving the board, but I don't want to be the president and not be here enough. Now, there are some members of the board. I know, Mike, you're president of the HOA, you poor devil. We're in the same HOA. That's okay. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this kind of stuff, but hey, I'm slowly but surely making sure it's not me. I would have let Jane, but she can't do it. So, you guys, I will vote for whoever you want. I think it should be Doug Pittner because he's very elusive. He's very good. He's very well spoken. He probably knows more about stuff because we come to meetings. He's always prepared. Correct, Joe?
Yes, he is.
There you go.
That's a fact.
It's a fact.
I agree with that.
Should be over on that side of
Well, it probably should be, but we look at you. Hey, you're better looking than some of us. See, you come in here well prepared, like Mike, but you're well prepared. So I'm thinking, unless we want the new guy to really mess with him, but we don't want to do that. So I would say I am nominating Doug Pittner.
I second, because earlier before the meeting started, I said I was going to nominate him. So I second.
We think alike.
Are you good with serving?
I won't refuse, but
That's
not
that's
volunteering.
That's good enough for me.
None of it's volunteer. I didn't volunteer for be vice president.
I think Brad would do a good job.
I'm sure he
I think
would.
that-
I'm sure
I
he
like
would.
the second
But he could
newest
be the
person
vice
here.
president.
Whatever you guys,
There is that thought too.
whatever you guys do.
But we gotta.
So a motion to elect Mr. Douglas Pittner as the president of the Cedar Point Planning Board. Chair, I'm sorry, it is chair. I felt better saying president. Chairman, head chair, the head guy of the planning board.
I second it.
Second, all in favor? Notice that it's all unanimous.
Can I vote against?
You can.
So I will,
Are you voting against or abstaining?
I'm abstaining.
he's abstaining.
That's a vote in the affirmative.
Yes, you can't abstain. So I will now give up my chair here.
You can stay there.
Oh, I can't. This is the chair. You have the gavel. Oh, I'll pass the gavel then.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay.
All right, thanks, Chris, I think.
That was easier than I thought it was gonna be.
All right, move on to text amendment.
All right, next item on the agenda is text amendment TA 2024-04, a request to amend the UDO concerning the regulation of car washes, car wash facilities. There is within your agenda packet a application. This was submitted. It's not coming from staff. It is a request from an applicant the Retson Companies out of West End, North Carolina, looking to allow a car wash facility specifically within a B3 zoning district. So the contact information is there in the application. Specifically, what they're looking to change is section 6.2, the use specific standards. That would be both the table of permitted uses to add a section for car washes, as well as putting in a designation specifically in the B3 box that they're looking for, asking that it be permitted by right. So question 1, what action is requested? They respond that they would like to add a specific use standard for car wash facilities. They've attached a Word document for the proposed standards. We'll get into that in just a moment, all the details associated there. 2, describe in your own words why the ordinance amendment request is necessary. They responded that there are no specific use standards currently established for car wash facilities. I'll elaborate on that just briefly. Under our ordinances, we don't have a provision for car washes. We do have repair garages, which would be what we would be looking at as far as the closest analogous use, if a request for a close analogous use standard was being requested. So if they came to me and said, what's the closest analogous use? I would have to conduct a hearing and then make a determination that looks like it would most likely be a car repair garage. So looking to make a distinction between those two, to be a little more specific on this particular use and actually have a better description of it. 3, in your opinion, how will the request be of benefit to you if approved? They respond that this would allow the use of car wash in the B3 zoning district and proposed standards for our development, as well as any potential future development in Cedar Point. 4, how will the town of Cedar Point and or community benefit from the amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance? The text amendment would create a use standard for future development in the B3 zoning district. So basically, take a look and already have some language in place in case another request came forward. So they did pay the application fee. So here's the proposed text language in addition to the change. In addition to the change to the permitted use table. So this would be under section 6.2, whatever letter number it would fall under. So it would define it would be a car wash with the following specific standards, which shall be used in evaluating an application for the approval of this use. And these are their proposed languages. Of course, you can always, amend the language to fit us a little better. If you have any questions, adjust as necessary. But number 1, the proposed hours of operation shall be consistent with the predominant uses in the area. 2, the proposed use shall not be located on a parcel that is abutting a parcel that has an existing residential use or that has a residential zoning district unless separated by a public road right-of-way. 3, all washing, waxing, machine drying, and related activities and operations shall be conducted entirely within an enclosed building except for pedestrian vehicular openings, with the exception of vacuuming, hand washing, hand drying, and hand waxing of vehicles, the sale of items from vending machines, pay stations, the sale of items from vending machines, and refuse storage and disposal. 4, the permit issuing authority may require any one or a combination of fencing, distance, hours of operation, and baffling as needed to minimize noise generated by such facilities if the property is within 200 feet of a parcel that has an existing residential use or that has a residential zoning district unless separated by a public road right-of-way. 4, an oil water separator shall be installed in the drainage system, which shall be installed and maintained in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications and standards. 6, car wash facilities are required to have an operational water recycling system. So those are the 6 conditions that the applicants feel that you as a board should consider adopting to regulate car washes generally within this B3 zone. One thing I do need to point out to you in looking back over this is number 4 specifically. It says the permit issuing authority may require any one or a combination of fencing, distance, hours of operation, baffling. Keep in mind the only way you can make site-specific requirements would be through a special use permit requirement. I understood the request to be that of a permitted use. So if there are issues that you think you need to address, it would probably be prudent to either treat it as a special use permit or alternatively to go ahead and add some standards in here for some of these things, some language that must be met, because you can't just give yourselves arbitrary authority to impose these without going through the special use permit process. So just something to think about as far as how to address those issues, whether the preference would be on a site-by-site basis, at which point you'd want to look at from a special use permit, or if you want to take the time to consider things such as fencing, setbacks, hours of operation, or baffling, buffering, is normally what we would consider, for some commercial uses. If you want to add some specific language in here as well. So that's the general request. I would recommend opening the floor for any questions that you might have, or the applicants, if they want to add anything to that before we get into the land use plan application and how how you would consider this request under there. Make sure I didn't leave anything out that they want to cover or clarify or. If you want me to show anything, just let me know what you want on the screen.
First of all, we just do want to say thank you, David. You did a fantastic job at explaining everything for us. I think at this point, we've kind of laid everything out. We're happy to answer questions and kind of work through some of these things with you guys, but we really wanted to put a lot of thought and effort into this and find something that would fit really well into Cedar Point and help protect some of the residential users as well. We don't want to be bad neighbors. We want to be good neighbors and come in here and really just be a part of the community. So if any questions come up, we're here to answer them. I've got Mr. Mount Louder, he's our engineer who helped me compile all of this, and we're here.
Yeah, and I will add to that, we did look at similar zoning ordinances throughout the state and throughout the area and try to pick out some things that, that we see in other car wash projects that could be a little bit of an issue. Obviously noise sometimes can come up, or how do you screen these things, or just make sure it's compatible with the uses around it. So we try to make a concerted effort to make it, obviously work for the site we're considering, but also work for other sites, but also protect the town and residents like that. And we're certainly open to wordsmithing and looking at ways to make it really fit within the ordinance and, be a smooth, something that you can delegate or you can control, but also be flexible with what we'd like to achieve through the project.
Go ahead.
Do we happen to look at any of the ordinances just for PP of like Swansboro? They've got one. I know Moorhead's got. I mean, a lot of towns have. You see these; they're popping up. A lot of these washes all over the place. Most of them I've seen are in what I would consider a B something zone. So, in other words, what comparatively, how are can we look at those and see how they're written? The other question I would have is, since we're talking Cedar Point B3, I don't have it in my mind where every B3's place is right now in our zoning map. Because I would look at when we're talking about, like we said, where you may require, a lot of times I like that will require, depending on what it is. But if we're limited in our B3s to where we're not so abutted to residential too badly, and I'm trying to think where that was off the top of my head, that maybe you don't have that big of an issue. Yeah.
Right there on the screen in front of you.
Yeah.
All of the areas that are shown in yellow
Or B3.
are B3. So you have one little parcel up here
Right.
on Old 58.
Okay.
The bulk of it centers around the intersection here at 58, Old Highway 58, down to the parcel on the other side of the entrance to Megan's Bay. This parcel is the 3-story medical facility, and then the vacant lot beside of it. This one is new sports shop, a little bit of area directly behind it. And then the last area that we have is B3 down here at, let me orient myself here. Those are, that's Sound Furniture.
Sound Furniture.
That's at the corner of Bell Street. So Sound Furniture, the single wide sitting directly behind Sound Furniture, and the building behind it that Sound Furniture is currently in.
David, remind me briefly, B1 versus B3, the difference.
So under our UDO, there is a brief description. Let me pull that up for you here. Get to it. I'll get to it and then I'll move it over to this other screen. Residential. So B3, the intent of the B3 was the planned business district has been established to create a district exclusively for retail shopping center complexes. It says that, but when you look at our permitted use table, which we can go to in a second, you can see that there's a lot more than just retail shopping center complexes. But that was the initial intent when it was drafted. B1 language is a business district intended for the use of general businesses and other related uses. When we go on down to the permitted use table, so the B3 column, you can see here, ABC stores, antique gift stores, appliance stores, auction house, automobile sales and rental, bakery, delicatessen, banks, barber, beauty shops, bed and breakfast, business, vocational schools, clinic, medical laboratories, commercial displays, commercial printing and publishing, the commercial street yard display, special use permit, community shopping centers, multifamily housing of all sorts, special use permit, convenience stores without gasoline sales, convenience stores with gasoline sales, docks and piers, commercial, live dwelling units, multifamily, general business, retail sales, grocery stores, home centers. That would be like your Lowe's Hardware Home Center, hotel, motel, lab research, laundry, dry cleaning, laundromat, special use, libraries, licensed professional therapists, club facilities, public and private as a special use, meeting events center, special use, nonprofit educational cooperatives, all sorts of offices of all sorts.
Motor vehicle repairs is specifically in B1.
Yes, B1 or LIW. Yeah, so that's some of the reason of looking at going in, making a distinction between the two. Otherwise, the applicant had considered possibly a rezoning request to a B1 for the location they're looking at.
And if this request were approved, this would probably become a new line item on this chart
It would,
as a car wash.
in alphabetical order.
Brad, any thoughts, questions?
I thought the wording was very good, but do we need to make a designation between, because obviously this is an automated car wash versus a standalone hand wash, car wash? But there need to be language that actually represents both.
If you want them treated separately, then absolutely.
Just a couple comments. I mean, first, I thought you did a great job with use standards. I think it looked pretty good. Given that we already permit motor vehicle repair facility, I would suggest that we permit, car wash facility outright in B1. And I'm not sure where I stand with, it's not really the intended use for B3, although there could be cases where it's a good fit. And I wouldn't want to exclude it. So my recommendation would be I now would support a special use permit for B3.
Are you suggesting permitted in B1, special use in B3?
Yes. And some of that, how you view it, is a little subjective. In my mind, it's like somewhere between a motor vehicle repair facility and a gas station, and something in between. But I think that's probably a happy medium kind of solution that allows the property owner to at least propose the gas station, or I'm sorry, a car wash facility.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if I may weigh in on that thought there. One of the reasons that the request is leaning more towards a B3 zone than a B1 was that some of my guidance. And some of that is for the reason that if you look at the zoning map that I've pulled back up there in front of you, we have a lot of areas that are zoned B1 that have a greater impact on residential than even a good majority of our B3 zone. So, from a use standpoint, noise being probably the predominant issue, with a car wash, having locations that are further away from the residential areas would probably be more desirable. And in this particular instance, with the map that we have, that tends to be more of your B3 than your B1. So my recommendation is, if you look at it from that standpoint, I would also recommend, if you're going to make it a special use in a B3, at least also make it a special use in a B1.
Fair.
Any questions, thoughts?
My only thought was back to, I think it looks very good, but back to the paragraph 4 is, if we're gonna make it special use, then maybe we take the specific distance requirement out, and then we just evaluate that on a case by case basis, depending on how it's gonna, or if it's a special use.
If it's a special use, then you can leave that language exactly as it is. If you're going to have at any point make it a permitted by right use, then you need to go ahead and address any of these issues with a specific standard. If you're going to address them at all. Because remember, permitted by right will not come back before this board or the Board of Commissioners. It will simply be a commercial site plan, and if they meet all of these standards that are specified, then they're entitled to the permit. So you would have to specify, if you want buffering under a permitted by rights setup, then it needs to be in here to have the ability to impose that.
So I guess to say it another way, my only concern was, is 200 feet the accurate, is that what we want it to be?
That's a matter of discretion at this point. If you want to, all that's doing is giving you a threshold to say, okay, you're looking at a 200-foot distance when you're considering this particular standard of noise.
The applicant proposed the 200 feet,
The applicant.
correct? Was there any particular reason for that?
There's a, excuse me, there's a lot of different variables that went into that, specifically the amounts that we see of distances are ranging from 150 to 200 to 300. So we kind of try to find something in the middle that would kind of cover a wide range of possible lots that could get developed as a car wash, and to help protect any residents around them.
Just to be clear, I'm asking as much as saying that regardless of the use standards, we have a separate section on buffers that would still be required based on the zoning of the adjoining properties, right?
So what's being proposed here isn't including anything within that specific section. So depending on if you want to put a specific standard in place for buffering, I would recommend we put it here, and then also put that same distance wherever it is within the buffering chart that we have.
Right. But the zoning also determines what their standards are for, right? Like between a B3 and a residential or whatever.
So yes, so there are standards between your commercial and residential. Well, two things. One, within the central business overlay district, there is a buffer requirement of 35 feet for any commercial adjoining residential. Secondarily, there is buffering requirements between commercial when one is substantially more intrude, or a more impactful use, right? So a junkyard's going to have a bigger buffer than office building. But anytime you're within that central business overlay district, it's 35 feet next to residential, period. But in this case, that won't become an issue at all, because it says that it cannot be next to a residential at all. Okay. One of the standards they put in, so you wouldn't have to worry about that specific one.
Now, if they were a special use permit, then these standards could be overridden. Is that correct?
So if it is a special use permit and you have a specified standard in there, let's just say you have a 20-foot buffer requirement around this, around the car wash. Your special use permit cannot alter that, because that is a specified distance, except if you gave yourself language to say, we can increase the buffer above the minimum. So you couldn't reduce the standard at all.
Okay.
If you leave it open like this, then each and every site that is being proposed with a special use permit, it would be up to the Board of Commissioners to say, okay, in this particular instance, we think this amount of buffering is necessary. Or this amount of fencing, or this amount of setback, or what have you.
And David, if I may, when it comes to the buffering and the B3 zoning, we would, whatever the standard UDO is on that buffering, we would follow that as a minimum. So we're not trying to change any language where we don't have to follow that B3 zoning buffering. That would still be in place, and we don't want to change that in any way. So if it means we got to tweak the language in here to make sure that that is the baseline, then we want to absolutely do that.
Yes, one of my questions is, so one of the proposals here, number 2, is that you can't build a car wash next to a residential zone.
Right.
If it's a special, if that's adopted, but this is adopted as a special use permit, instead of permitted, can that be overridden in a B1? No. So by putting that language in there, this applicant prevents someone else from building another car wash in town. In a sense, because there's a lot of lots that can't build them next to all, like you mentioned, many of the B1s are next to residential.
Right, especially at B1.
So it restricts.
I mean, there's still a lot of places. I mean, any of these lots right through here could be used as car washes. This one right here, these would be touching residential. The frontage lots right through here would be allowable. You got some right through here that are not touching. Some of these lots are big enough that somebody could subdivide the lot, put a car wash on the front, like this one right here. This is the market at Cedar Point. That's certainly big enough to be subdivided. Several of these lots over in here. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. Anyhow, we might have a blue line. But you have several lots over through here that are not touching any. So it would not preclude a secondary one from coming in.
And when we spoke with David going through all this, we felt that if we just applied it to the B3 zoning, that would help instead of rezoning this to B1 and then opening up all the other B1s to having this language applied to them as well. So we felt leaving it in the B3 zoning would better help future development and protect the residents.
I'm Michael, and your name
I'm
is
Matt Taggart. Sorry, I should have introduced
Matt-
myself. My
Matt
apologies.
Taggart,
Yes.
and then
So just say Matt, you're good.
Yeah.
Matt Lauer. Okay, so what other locations have you developed car washes on, and do you have like examples of photos or things like that?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think of how to address it. Currently we have about 10 projects that are in the development phase where we're going through permits and entitlements. This being one of them, going through this process of adding that in there. I can share, do we have the elevation? Just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like and what our product is, we can share that with you. But we're all throughout. We've got some in South Carolina, there's North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia.
So you're in a process of developing a permit, but you haven't built one yet.
This particular client has built multiple, and he's here in the back, Mr. Mark Russell, he's the managing partner. Yeah, you can bring that one up. Who's developed these. He's brought us on earlier this year to help with the development phase going forward. And this is what the product looks like.
Okay. And where is with this concept? Is that orientation, is that near residential? Is it near a state highway? What's the?
So this is a 3D rendering. It's not an actual, this is just what our buildings look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
The which lot are you homing in on?
Well,
Yeah, the purpose.
Yeah,
okay.
Specifically for.
All right.
yeah, we're not.
All right, so then moving on to the next question, so on the I like, Joe, what you're saying with special use permit, B1, B2. I like adding on buffer language with trees and stuff, but going on paragraph 3. Got a question on that. So sale of items from vending machines, pay stations, the sale of items from vending machines, that's just redundant part in there, but what do you mean by vending machines? Like, is that gonna be like Go Gas, which is lines of sodas and what? I mean, like, what are your thoughts on that? So Mark's back there raising his hand, he wants to talk.
Come on up, Mark. We're bringing in the relief pitcher here.
I'm Mark Russell. Thank you guys for listening to this. We've developed several of these. I'm a professional engineer. I've personally done all of them, except the ones these guys are working on for me now. The latest one we did was in Morehead City that we opened up. It was you can kind of see the place it was. It was at the old Hardee's there, in front of the Tractor Supply, very similar to kind of what we're proposing here, a different building. But to answer your question earlier, I'm thinking back on the ones we've done. To be honest with you, most of the ones we've done, obviously we want them on thoroughfare where they can be seen and easily accessed. But most of the sites we have done, the residential's been directly behind it, adjacent to that. And there's been about, 30 to 35 foot buffer most of the time with a fence and stuff. I was just trying to think in my mind if we've ever done any. Well, we just finished one in Newport News, Virginia. It's on if you guys know Newport News, Jefferson Avenue is a major thoroughfare up there. It's on Jefferson Avenue. And there's another commercial lot behind that, but right behind that is the residential lot. But the vending machines, personally, we don't use vending machines. I have seen other car washes. It's mainly if you wanted to have something there, buy an air freshener or, maybe something that had the Armor All that you could get out of a little vending machine. That's what I have seen there. And personally, we don't have vending machines.
But not like a bank of like 20 soda machines lined up.
No, we want people to come wash their cars and get out of there.
All right. So for the group, I know you're moving down to the paragraph 4. You're commenting on what you're saying, Phil, within 200 feet. I would even scratch it. I would say make baffling a required, because like I drive by through Swansboro by that car wash, and when that dryer kicks on, I'm like, what's like, did my car just blow a tire? Like, I mean, it's that's loud noise. And I would say that depending on where this car wash would go, special use B1 or B3, that there needs to be baffling because it's going to be loud wherever it is. And that's my comment to the board.
Can I ask a question when you're talking about baffling, because we go through this, is there anything in particular you have in mind when you say that?
I don't know. I'd leave it up to you so we would have to define that on how much we would reduce the noise by. I just know that when I'm doing the legal speed limit of 35 miles an hour through Swansboro and that dryer kicks on, I notice it through my car and my music, and it's loud. So if it was to be near, let's say, Tractor Supply or the medical building, and I'm hearing blowers going, that's just would be disturbing.
Yeah, so the question is if the board wants to use the language of baffling, right? Then we would need to define that. If you want to look at it from a buffering standpoint.
I'm looking at baffling and buffering.
Okay, so then you're going to need to draw the distinction between the two and how and where they will be applicable.
We're talking decibel reduction.
Yes. And I would get out anything dealing with 200 feet. And it's just gonna be put down baffs.
So just so everybody's aware, the town does not have a means to monitor that. If you're imposing that in much the same way that we do our lighting standards, then that would have to be something that would have to be documented through engineering. So just so you know what that would entail.
But I think your earlier points, David, with leaving it ambiguous gives us more latitude in a special use permit to drill down on the specific limitations of the site.
The special use permit gives you more flexibility than putting in a strict standard now.
Right.
but you're passing that responsibility on to the board of commissioners as well.
And I understand the baffling issue in a sense, we got measured, but is that also can be adjusted by the way the orientation of the facility to, depending on where it is, based on the lot? In other words, let's say it was one and they're fronting 58 with those woods. And that, wherever it's, I don't use these things, so I don't know. I assume it's an air blower, drying them off, and it's facing that way. I'm not sure what the baffling requirement is, but if it's blowing that way toward 58 through those woods, if it happens to be there. So how do we word that? So I guess I'm with Mike, how do we do this in the sense of, so we can apply it, but at the same time, if they can adjust the orientation to diminish that, does that alleviate some of whatever? I don't know.
We do see a
Again,
lot of orientation specific in regards to where the tunnel is located. It can't be, pointing towards residential. That's a very common one that you see in these ordinances. It's typically they want it kind of along the major thoroughfare where it's not blasting out into there and disrupting drivers when they're driving by, and then buffering to protect that as well.
I mean, I would propose for David, I mean, or come back to us on, help us define baffling more based on what do adjacent towns, cities have done, and then add buffer language. I would vote on it next month. That's a thought I have for a special use permit for B1 and B2 and
Just kind of some context on that. We've done about 20 of these, and we have run into the issue of the noise requirement on one of these, because most of the time they are on thoroughfares. Just some more context. If we were to do it here, ours would be oriented parallel to the road there, so it wouldn't be blasting out into the road. Sometimes the lots don't allow you to do that. But generally, most towns do not have a noise ordinance specifically for car washes. They have a noise ordinance, but not specifically for car washes.
right now, I mean, if we took no action on it, it's not allowed, period. So I mean, that's a
Sure.
simple answer. So we got an opportunity here to allow it or not allow, but for us to control.
Well, I was just kind of giving you
Yeah.
some context on that.
Yeah.
It's not I mean, we could come back with that because we have run into it.
That's my thought, but I defer to my.
If it was
Peers here.
approved as a special use, would the applicant, if they decided to move forward with a car wash on a particular lot, would that then come back to the planning board for review first, or does it go straight to the board of commissioners for special use?
So the board of commissioners would address the special use portion of it
Okay,
to determine whether or not that use could be allowed on that particular lot
okay.
with the specified conditions that would address these. Basically, number 4. And then when it comes time for the site plan review, any of the other things such as the whole water separator, those would be looked at site plan review. So they would be looking at the standards that would be subjective versus the objective ones, such as number 5 and 6 and 2.
And we could simply on number 4, remove the portion that says it applies if it is adjacent to or within 200 feet of a residential zone, and leave it as the permit issuing authority may require one of these things to reduce noise, period.
Yes.
And that gives the board of commissioners the flexibility to decide what kind of background they want. We could add in there that they may also require building orientation to meet that requirement.
And you could just simply, in that, if you want to take that approach, you can actually just remove the word baffling and say other means of noise reduction to satisfy that. So we don't have to go in and specifically define that.
Which could include orientation.
Which could include orientation, could include fencing, could include trees.
Yeah.
I just think it would be challenging to write something that would define what the appropriate baffling should be. Because it could be it could be highly variable based on the location and what is constructed. But I don't have enough personal knowledge of decibels and engineering options to write something or even suggest anything along those lines.
Yeah, that's why I'm curious, what do other towns, Moorhead, Swansboro has, and that's why I asked for staff research on that, so. We can do the appropriate research before we take the vote, before we even move it forward to the commissioners.
Anybody have any other additional questions about the wording of the restriction?
So we're looking at making a special use permit in B1 or everywhere.
That is a
B1,
something that could be
B3.
proposed.
I mean, I'm looking at what's available out there, and there's a lot of B3. And it is within the CBOD. So it's been so.
We don't even have to vote on this.
No, I know, I'm just saying, I'm just going to ponder it. We're thinking special use permit, and that can be in any of the zones, really, right?
If
Well, one or
If we want, I understand it, but yeah.
I wouldn't recommend a B2, which is your water dependent
Right, water,
uses.
yeah, I understand, yeah, but B1 to or B3.
Certainly what's requested is B3, and you can add B1 if you want, or any other
Okay.
design you want to look at.
Okay.
I'll just say, I feel comfortable with the changes that you recommended. I'm okay with waiting if someone else is not comfortable, but I feel comfortable with the wording, with the changes that Doug and David have proposed.
Do you want to put a motion on the table?
Can we need to nail down that language though, I think, for paragraph 4. So if we said in one of the combination of fencing, distance, hours of operation, and other means, is that what you to minimize noise, and then eliminate the
By such facilities.
by such
period.
facilities, yeah,
Period.
if property is within 200 feet. Yeah, so just put a period after
Yeah.
facilities.
Yeah, eliminate the requirement, make it applicable to any instead of just those within 200 feet of residential property.
As a special use permit for both B1 and B3.
And I would delete the redundant language in 3, the sale of items from vending machines, because that's said twice.
And if you want, the applicant here has indicated that the vending machines that they might anticipate would be those limited to vending machines of car related
Yes.
products. Or you could address that issue, or you could limit the number of vending machines on a site so you don't wind up with a bank of them if that's a concern as well.
Is there an ordinance that addresses vending machines in other B1, B3 spaces?
Well, let's check. I'm not sure right offhand if we do have it. No.
Search it and see.
Yeah, so there wasn't anything specific to it in our ordinance.
Well, I'll put a motion on the table, propose approving this use standard as modified as special use permit for both B1 and B3.
Before you take action on that,
Yeah,
keep in mind, anytime we have a text amendment, we also have to consider your land use plan and how that comes into play. So I'll go through that real quickly.
okay.
And then, as usual, I have you is consistent, is not consistent, and, feel free to modify as you see fit, or if you have any questions or want to add any additional language, you certainly can. So under our land use plan, I'll pull that over here. This is our future land use map. Shows the areas generally that would be used commercially. It's fairly similar to what you saw on our current zoning map, except some additional locations up on Old Highway 58 that we have the intention of converting to commercial at some point. So here's the goals and implementations that we go through each time, the different CAMA goals or public access, land use compatibility, infrastructure carrying capacity, natural hazard areas, and water quality, with some very specific goals that we, the town, have to embrace the town's recreational identity, to ensure land use compatibility, to improve multimodal transportation, strengthen community resilience, again, embrace our recreational identity and strengthen community resilience. So that's basically the 5 of them, and maintain a small town feel. So when we look at the different uses to ensure land use compatibility, ensure development balances the protection of natural resources and fragile areas with economic development, and avoids risks to public health, safety, and welfare. Under goal L1, the town will utilize the future land use map as well as accompanying future land use factors map when considering any major development proposal, rezoning, or similar application for a change in land use or development in the study area. So you must consider that future land use map that I showed you a moment ago. Most of the rest of this stuff I did not find applicable. I know we all work together to draft this language with the exception of Phil. So I know the rest of you are intimately familiar with it. If you see anything else here that stands out to you, let me know. There's that section. I didn't find anything under a goal of improving multimodal transportation options that applied. Or under embracing the town's recreational identity doesn't really apply. The next one would be maintaining the small town feel, enhance the small town character of Cedar Point, adopt and enforce land use regulations that address the aesthetic character of non-residential development to ensure that future development along the town's primary corridors are compatible with the vision for the community. Dealing more, of course, with the aesthetic nature of it. But overall, this is the goal, is to maintain the small town feel that we have. Other language here didn't really apply. Seasonal decorations, as you can see, and things of that nature. Strengthening community resilience deals more with environmental impacts, natural hazards. I didn't find anything applicable in this section either. So really the 2 that stood out is maintaining the small town feel and considering land use compatibility. So you do have 2 proposed consistency statements. If you find that the language as amended is consistent with the town of Cedar Point comprehensive plan adopted November 16th, 2023, suggested language would be because it is compatible with other uses with the B3 zone, and we can change that to B3 and B1 zone. With a special use permit, if you want to include that language as well, to be a little more specific, pursuant to the town's future land use plan and is consistent with the town's desire to maintain a small town feel. Or alternatively, if you determine that it is not consistent, language would say that it's not consistent because it's not compatible with other uses within the B3 or B1 zone, and would not contribute to the town's maintaining a small town feel. So language is pretty generic. There wasn't a whole lot there to go off of in our land use plan, but you should consider those two aspects, in making your decision, and then adopt the consistency statement that goes along with the decision you want to make on the language itself.
So I propose the consistency statement that you have here with the modification that it says B1 and B3 zone as special use permit.
As special uses.
As special uses pursuant to, et cetera. The rest of the statement.
You good, Jane?
Don't ask her questions like she's right.
Just want to make sure she's good because she's the one making the minutes.
All right, so there's a motion.
I'll second.
Second, all in favor?
Are you voting nay?
I'm voting nay.
Any nays?
1 nay.
1 nay?
I just want more information on what neighboring towns and cities have done, because it may influence what language I would recommend it or what we would vote on. That's the reason I'm voting nay.
For clarification, Phil, I wasn't sure where you.
I was still thinking, I mean, that's, I think we're most of the way there for me with the changes. I'm trying to figure out if there's any benefit to waiting or anything against waiting another month till we get those other things nailed down. So this is my first one, so I don't know the collateral consequences of that.
That's why I'm voting nays. I don't know. And I wanna take the appropriate time to get the information so that we can make an informed vote. Because the commissioners may or may not have similar questions we've got. And so with the staff doing the research, we can just provide an informed product to the commissioners. That's why I'm voting nay.
So we've got 1, 2, 3 yeas, 1 nay, and whatever your vote is.
Well, I guess I'll stay as an A, because I think it would be bad to be, get a little more information.
14.
Yep. Okay, moving on to site plan review for Guthrie Farm Villas.
We'll give them a moment. If y'all to close out, I know y'all calling then now.
Yeah, just want to say thank you all for your time. We're happy to come in and be a part of this community. I know Mark's actually a resident of the community, so we're really happy to be going through this process, helping you guys out, you're helping us out. We're looking forward to it. So thank you.
Let's.
The board can do it. That's up to them.
All right,
We'll move on. Site plan review for Guthrie Farm Villas.
all right, so this one submitted by Tidewater Associates on behalf of the owners, John and Janelle White. This is a project that has received a special use permit from the Board of Commissioners to allow the use of multifamily housing on this particular lot. They're now bringing it to the board for site plan review. It would be similar to a subdivision review, except for the fact that the lots are not going to be subdivided. They're going to be treated as apartments, even though they are in separate buildings. So you have a site plan review, 4 buildings consisting of 8 duplex units, so total of 8 units, 26 parking spaces, on-site LLP septic system, and stormwater drainage. The amount was actually paid by check, so you don't see it there. And here is the overall layout of the site. Before we get into much of that detail, though, let me pull up the map and kind of orient you on where we are. Let me move my map to here.
See a lot of nice logs on that property.
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of nice timber on that property. Any help clearing it, I'll help them with a chainsaw. Wait, is it? Oh, it's different.
Really?
No. It's not the one in front of Otters.
Good job, you're done.
No, it's not that one. You're looking at the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Sounded like an offer to clear for you.
Either way.
John.
So what you see here on the screen, this 2.18 acres as listed by the GIS is the property. It is on the road informally Cedar Point Villas Drive. Here is Cedar Point Villas as a whole, and so this is the parcel between the beginning of Cedar Point Villas and the sewer treatment plant and field for Cedar Point Villas. As I stated, it does have a special use permit already in place by the Board of Commissioners to allow this use in that location, so that part has been addressed. So now we're looking at the site plan, making sure that it meets the requirements, just like we would have a commercial site. Even though it is residential. So you have your 4 duplex buildings, total 8 units, 1 entrance in and out, septic repair area here. So this would be the backup site, primary location for the septic system here, a stormwater infiltration basin, and then a maintenance barn building with a lean-to, keep mowing equipment, that sort of stuff in. Building setbacks have been maintained under our ordinances. You have the additional site details as far as grading, drainage, erosion control and all that. You can see in this photo that, the site will be, you have curb and gutter throughout, with drainage basically flowing into the, infiltration basin here. Copy of the septic system for the entire site, and of course the repair area on this one, the location of your clean outs, tanks, that sort of thing. And I think, infiltration basin detail and drainage area map. This is more for their state stormwater permit that they'll need. And then the detailed drawings of all of it. The applicant is here as well as the owners, in case you have any questions about the review.
Maybe there's no lighting plan or landscaping plan. Are they as required, or are they not because it's a residential? Or
that is a good question. I'd have to go back and check.
I know sometimes landscaping is required, but I don't know if it's always.
So we have no requirements for any landscaping requirements for residential uses. Generally, the lighting I'll have to take a look at. I think we only apply that in our central business overlay, which this is not. But if you have other discussion you want to make, I'll be looking that up.
Person.
Sure. That's gonna be questions for David, but he's preoccupied with this stuff up. Now keep going, David. All 3 of my questions are for you.
So on page 20, there is a requirement for exterior lighting plans, but it says specifically for commercial buildings. That's central business overlay language. Yeah, both sections dealing are only commercial buildings, and more stringent within the central business overlay district.
Although I guess they could have lighting in there for security purposes or at night for people coming in parking.
They're just not.
I mean, like but it's not a thing. Like in our development, we have lighting in the area.
Right.
It's more of a thing.
Yeah, so we don't have any specific standards, but they could certainly put in some street pole lighting or something like that. We do have a requirement that you can't have any upward facing lights, for the dark skies FAA compliant military request.
Okay, so what was the history on the special use? When was that approved by the board?
Let's see.
I think it was July.
Of this year? Okay.
Planning and zoning, special use permits. Guthrie Farm Villas, it was last year. September.
There's no expiration on those?
I don't believe they put one in. Special use permits do not of themselves have an expiration unless they put one in, and I don't believe they did. The only one I remember us having an expiration on was the bar.
Okay.
When they approved Cedar Point Tavern.
Okay, and then there's enough in there compliant with the number of parking spaces?
Yes, there's a chart here that shows the calculations.
I think we said what, 2 per? Is that we passed before? And it looks like they got that.
Yeah, so it's two per.
And then for guests, did we put a requirement for number of guests?
So for post parking is 26 spaces. Under our parking requirements, it's 2.25 spaces for units over 1,250 square feet. So 8 units at 2,195 square feet, each equals 18 spaces, so 18 is required and they're providing 26.
Okay. And then does there need to be any recreational area set aside or green area set aside?
So that is one issue that you have to determine. Under our UDO, there is a requirement for recreational requirement, the 10%,
Mhm.
either fee in lieu or set aside for the area. So yes,
So do they meet the set aside?
Is there any recreational on the plan?
there's none proposed.
Okay, so they would then have to pay the 10% of the,
Unless they want to put in some recreation on the
yes,
site.
so I mean, that's why I highlight that, it's like either or. Cause it's the, what is it, 10% of the,
Get it in there.
what's the value, it's not tax assessed now, it's.
Yeah, so they got set.
See, at the back corner of a man.
You can't be on that LPP setting description.
It's like the back lot by the name itself.
It would be 10% of the appraised value of the vacant lot.
So I just asked that question because it's not on there. That's my last three questions.
Is the planning board allowed to make a recommendation of one versus the other, or?
Yeah, so the specific language, let me pull it up here.
Because the 10%, the set aside green area cannot be the repair area or the drainage field, so it's got to be separate from that.
Correct.
No, I was just saying that the set aside can't be the septic field, repair field, the drainage field, so that.
The back part of the trees are, that area.
Yeah, we were.
I'm not sure how deep it is. Between.
Us in the campground.
Yeah, I mean, just you'd have to figure out what you'd want to do.
Trees.
Yeah.
You want to cut them down.
No, I'm thinking about the lot across from AutoZone. Some nice timber in there.
We're interested in trying to create that 10%. So we're gonna work with Jonathan to see if we can come up with that 10%.
What does that consist of? Is it just a
Area
area?
population.
Or you put actual. That's
The wooded area all behind there between us and the campgrounds, wooded area, and then it kind of even flares out as you get towards Cedar Point Villas. It's even like a little bit bigger there. So we were thinking that the wooded area. No, I don't think wooded counts as recreation. Could be. Or the tree house.
So
Zip line and.
We can clear it out if we want to maintain this tree.
So the criteria for evaluating the suitability of proposed recreation parks and open space areas shall include but not be limited to the following as determined by the planning board in consultation with the Cedar Point Town Commissioners. Unity, the developed dedicated land shall be a single parcel except where it is determined that two or more should be in the public interest. And the planning board may require they be connected with a 30-foot wide footpath. The location, the dedicated land should be located so as to serve the recreation needs of the immediate neighborhood within the subdivision. The shape, topography, and subsoils of the dedicated land shall be such as to be usable for parking and active recreation. Lakes and marsh may not be included in computed dedicated land unless acceptable to the planning board. And accessibility, public access to the dedicated land shall be provided either by an abutting street or public easement. Such public easement shall be at least 30 feet in width. So,
Or fee in lieu of dedication.
yeah. So it doesn't specifically preclude wooded recreational lands. You're gonna have to figure out if that meets the shape, topography, and subsoils and be usable for parking and active recreation.
It's hard to do in the woods.
Yeah. If you had a 100-acre site, and you had some woods with some hiking trails and stuff in it. Yeah, I think it's open to interpretation.
Well, it's almost, you can't park on the road. So then you're saying I can drive up there and park in the lot and go walk in the woods if I want to.
If you live there,
If, no,
you gotta live
it's
there.
open to the public.
It's
No,
public
no.
access.
It says public access.
Yeah. You can take that how you want it. I would interpret that as
I mean, I wouldn't do it, but I'm
the
going,
public,
it says public access, so.
yeah. What I think what it means there is for the benefit of those within the neighborhood without it being,
I totally agree with that.
On
but I'm
private
just saying, Right, I agree with that, it should be that way, yeah, I'm just saying. If I did it, what are they gonna do? Let it beat me up, whatever, okay. So, and it's tough in a little area like this to say it's recreation. What, I put a swing on a tree?
Yeah,
And
Yes.
yeah, okay, I can do that, yeah. Tough
Make a
swing.
walking track.
10% of the lot, or pay 10%.
Right, yeah, I'm just saying.
Or any combination of
Should
both.
thereof. Okay, no, I got no problem with it, I'm just saying, you know, you need it in there.
I mean, other places that the board has considered to satisfy the requirement has included area set aside for boat parking and storage.
Yeah.
Open field,
Mhm.
has been approved by the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah.
Dog park was proposed but wasn't approved, wasn't adopted by the proposer. So there's some options there,
Flexibility.
if they have the land that they want to set aside as in some regard to satisfy all or part of that requirement.
I didn't live in that.
There's some of the trees out for swing sets. So he knows how much.
Jonathan can do
You
it.
can figure it out.
Yeah, he can figure it out.
There you go.
Yeah, we were thinking about that for the parking lot.
Yes.
So the parking area couldn't satisfy it, you can't duplicate that use.
But
No,
I
I
like,
know,
But if you want,
Open to.
yeah,
how about,
Back to the families.
you know, if we clear some land out in those woods and put some swing sets and stuff like that, parking of the park. The building itself, 26 parking lots there, would that satisfy with the parking part of?
yeah,
Yeah, sort of there.
Yeah.
We're gonna
it may be.
to utilize that wooded area for this kind of thing anyway. That's what we want to do, is preserve that, and we can park it, bring the tree limbs up. So that it's clear to go through there, would be woods, it's wooded, it's not woods. Not a forest. Just got some nice trees in there, so we could park cut that. So that you could venture through there. We'd like to keep we're gonna try to keep that tree, that area between that and the. Well, that's not gonna be.
Would any of this area be suitable here?
Could be, we're not. How they need, I mean. What's it, swing sets or equipment for children. Yeah. Sport court.
Pickleball court.
Pickleball court would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah. And they make it now, get the development over on the island, they just put one in last year that's all a pervious grid system. So it doesn't even add to your impervious requirements.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really
really
nice,
nice project that had that. Yeah, it's-
really nice project, but
Any questions?
Fire marshal, they'll look at this, I mean, I'm trying to think about.
The turn radius.
A hydrant and a turn radius
Yeah.
on that road. All the way down to it affects Cedar Point Village too. I'm just trying to think, where's the fire hydrants in there?
The water and fire hydrants make a difference, you learn that.
Didn't make a difference in my house, but hey.
No, it wouldn't, trust me.
It's not enough water and fire hydrants.
Yeah, we do run this by the fire marshal in some of these.
Yeah, that's a good point, the turn radius. Yeah.
Yeah, Mine burned down and there's a fire hydrant right there.
Incidentally,
Is enough.
because you're not
Okay,
talking
that
about
just-
them going and turning around.
Yeah, I don't know,
They're
like you say, the
straight.
turning radius of getting in and.
So all I can tell you on that is our fire marshal does receive a copy of all of these
Okay.
and has not expressed a concern.
Okay, all right, that's all I needed to know. That's good.
It's
Okay.
different if they had to go in there and make U-turns, but they're
Yeah.
just straight in.
Joe,
You can go jump the curb.
No, I don't have any questions.
Yeah, so we do have a distance of the tees, and neither one of these are exceed that distance.
Okay.
That was the issue we ran into over at Flippers Cove, if you remember when that went in. That tee was short enough to where it didn't trigger the need for a cul-de-sac or some other means of turning around. They can back in and back out.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
you're good. There's no other considerations that we have to make for this one.
No, if-
Consistency statements or anything like that.
No, you don't have a consistency statement. Since we do have the open issue of the recreation, you can make, if you do an approval, you can make that a contingent upon either dedicating the 10% or the fee in lieu or a combination thereof. And that gives them a week and a half to determine what they want to do and make some changes so that we address that with the building commission.
You have a motion?
I make a motion to approve this contingent on 10% set aside or 10% in lieu of, or a combination of both.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, who seconded it, Bill?
I did.
Unanimous.
Huh?
All right, next topic is preliminary subdivision approval for phase 3 of Cedar Point Villas.
All right, so applicant again is Tidewater Associates, representing, the owner is DSS Incorporated. My understanding is there may be some other ownership transition that'll take place consistent upon this. I'm not sure of the details, but in any event, you have contact information if you want to reach out to any of those individuals. This is a preliminary plat and site plan approval for phase 3 of Cedar Point Villas. It includes the addition of 3 buildings with each having 6 townhome units and the addition of 34 parking spaces. So this is a full subdivision review because these will be on individual lots, kind of like the townhouses that were just constructed in front of Bridgeview subdivision, the Bridgeview townhouses. So here's a overall layout of the site. Let me orient you a little bit here. So
Said next door to where we just were.
yeah, it's right next door. So the site currently has 2 buildings already there in phase 3. It was initially laid out and designed for all 5 of these buildings, has not been constructed to date. So this review is going to be similar to what the board looked at when it came to the phase 4 of the villas at Megan's Bay.
Yes.
So that one did not have any parking requirements that had to be, the parking was already in place, all the infrastructure was already in place for that one. So that was a easy review by staff. Didn't even have to come back to you because of the vested rights that would be in place. Similar to that, that kind of process, because this was developed in phases, because phases 1 and 2 and part of 3 have already been constructed, there is the approval, there is authority to move forward with this phase, the remainder of phase 3, consistent with the plans that were already in place, which previously showed a similar layout to what you're looking at today. However, they have not been platted, so that's what we're looking at. There is a density and the reason that comes into play is we have density requirements now of no more than 8 units per acre. That does not come into play on this particular project because they have vested rights to develop 18 units in this location pursuant to the previous plan, provided that it is consistent with that previous plan. Okay, everybody kind of follow that. So that's why you're looking at it from purely a standpoint of a subdivision of the lots themselves. With that, there is no need for the special use permit that we would also normally have for a multifamily development. So here's again the layout of those units. And then you have all of your stormwater drainage, or this is the existing conditions. There is some proposed demolition you can see to make the project happen. Some removal of some curbing in some places. A walkway that's pre-existing that would be rerouted. Location of the existing dumpster and relocating that. So some demolition of infrastructure there, not demolition of any buildings. Proposed reconstruction, all the new curb and gutter that would go around the parking area, the new dumpster location, and the relocated sidewalk through here. And then some drainage chutes you see added as well into the curb and gutter. Here's the grading plan, shows you a little bit more of where the flows are going to go on the site. Reaching a couple catch basins in this area, and then picking up some stormwater coming down here and entering into a pipe going into that catch basin down and around into an infiltration basin. And Jonathan, if I've misstated any of this, please certainly straighten me out. But looking at the flows, that's my understanding of it. Here is, I'm guessing water. No, this is sewer. Sewer connectivity. You've got the clean outs in front of each of the buildings going to a central location, draining down to the road, which I assume would have to be pumped, gravity fed down and then pumped back up.
Yeah, all existing gravity sewer. Yeah, there's a pump station further down.
And then your detailed drawings. So with this, these are the individual units themselves, and you can see there's a little extension out in front where the yard would extend a little bit in front of the building. Otherwise, unlike the Bridge Point townhouses where they had a little private yard behind, these would terminate kind of at the back door, basically. So overall you have the 18 different lots and then one common area lot for the rest of it. So recreation, that is not something that has been submitted to be addressed.
That's one of my questions. Where's the 10%?
Yeah.
Set aside or recreational area?
So because this is part of a larger development, we look at it both in phases as well as from an overall standpoint. So the question then becomes, to satisfy this, is there 10% recreation on site? I don't know that Jonathan has done that calculation for the whole site, because they do have active recreation with their common areas, an existing pool, and then the waterfront area, marina, boat ramp, and community building here.
Yeah. That'd be my one comment to the board, is to make it contingent on 10%. Set aside, yeah, meeting the requirement overall for the whole development, all phases. Or 10% in lieu of, or a combination of both. My other question is going to go back to.
So one of two things. So you can't require that the whole site be brought into compliance. The question would be, is there enough already in place to satisfy for the whole development? Or if there's not,
They gotta-
then they would have to satisfy specifically for this 1.63.
Yeah. Okay,
You can't force them to provide recreation that would exceed that.
okay.
But also, if you're going to apply the others, then you have to consider the whole site. It's how we did Bridgeview subdivision when we looked at phase 2 of theirs.
And then is there enough parking spaces?
So the parking spaces, there's a calculation here as well. It is,
Go down a page or two. I was looking for that a few minutes ago. They show 60.
I couldn't find it, that's why I was asking.
It's down on a subsequent.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
so this is proposing 2 per unit.
Isn't it 2.5 or?
So it's dependent on the square footage of the area. This layout showing the 60 spaces is actually what was previously approved for this development. So, I don't know, Jonathan, these units, what are their sizes? Do you know?
Approximately 900 square feet.
They're 900 apiece. With the exception of those 4, I think, the 4 end units.
Correct.
And do you know what those are?
Be much more.
We got-
Maybe 11.
okay,
What's our threshold, is 1,200?
so the. Pull up here. Search it, and I'll put it back on the screen here for you. So for residential, multifamily, 1.5 spaces. For 549 square feet or less, 1.75 spaces for units 550 to 699, 2 spaces for 700 to 1249, and 2.25 for over 1250. So the question though is
Those end units. Those end units.
those end units. Yeah. If they are over 1,250, again, we can't address these that are already pre-existing.
Correct, it's the others, the new ones.
So you're looking at,
Chop off a unit or 2.
so if it's 2.25 and there's 4 units, you may have to add 1 more parking space. If that is possible.
Yes, what do you make it? Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Change your dumpster language.
Bill, any thoughts, questions?
Parking was my only
Okay.
question, but he's addressed that.
EJ? Joe?
Nope, no questions.
Very good. I have no other questions either. You want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Any? From the audience? or-
Public comment?
You can open it to.
Are there any public comments, concerns?
Yes.
Please.
Jim McClure, I live at 212 Bell Street, Cedar Point. My daughter Sarah owns I-1, which is the closest unit to the gate. And
Is it this one?
yes, and we have no objections to this. My only question, my only concern, we had a little bit of conversation before the meeting, is stormwater runoff. Because the E and the I buildings that are there now, after this unnamed storm we had 10 days ago, had water standing in their parking lots 8 days later. And the Guthrie Farms issue, all of that water comes down to E and the I building
And as long as we can get stormwater taken care of and take it away from the E and I buildings. And as long as Guthrie Farms can hold their own water, you know, with the exceptions of a hurricane. We're okay, that's.
You wanna speak to that?
As the guy who's doing both projects.
And the state stormwater, from an overall standpoint, to kind of answer a little bit of your question myself. The town does not have the engineering resources to issue stormwater permits. So we rely on the state and their permitting process to address stormwater on individual development projects. So as part of this, anytime there is a subdivision review, even though the planning board didn't specifically address it, there has to be septic permit approvals that will have to be in place for each of these units. There will have to be a state stormwater permit in place that will address the concerns created by the development of these individual projects. To the extent that it addresses other things would be up to the developers, up to the engineer and the state to kind of work out to try to fix other problems. But the town itself doesn't have any mechanism really to address that other than if you have the state approval for your stormwater system, then the town approves it, if that makes sense. But I know Jonathan is working on that, so.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot of different things. Jonathan McDaniel, Tidewater Associates. So yeah, two separate things. So the stormwater permit deals with impervious area, but then there's also this other animal flood control. So like the rain we had, I guess it's 3 Mondays ago now. It was an anomaly, but it's like, what a unique scenario for these two jobs to be able to see both of them at the same time under a worst case scenario before everything's built, which is, I mean, very helpful for what I do, just to be able to see something like that and plan ahead, because that is a worst case scenario. But so actually the developers for this job have also hired us separately. We're tracking our time separately. We're going to come up with a fix for the entire Cedar Point Villas community because they got other drainage problems. That place was, I think, developed in the mid-80s. It's like the tail end of the Wild West of development. Like you didn't need stormwater rules didn't come into effect in '88 until 1988. So before then, it was just we just kind of build things, needing zoning stuff at the time. There's a lot of.
And the town was formed in 1988, so.
There you go.
Predates the town as well.
Yeah, this was the western end of Carteret. Carteret zoning at the time. So yeah, it's like vested rights to develop how it's laid out. But yeah, just coming up with a drainage fix to prevent any kind of standing water. So like, yeah, the existing 2 buildings and their parking lots currently flooded on that rain 3 Mondays ago. I was out there in the rain and then I went out the next day to see it, kind of a worst case after the rain had stopped. Got it documented and we're going to do as-built survey stuff we're going to fix it, fix a bad haircut.
And for those, I know those that live there can certainly see it in action. There was actually a designed stormwater pond for that facility that sits fairly dry.
Yeah.
The one behind, not this one, but the one behind it. You go out and take pictures.
Yeah.
There's certainly a lot more capacity than.
There's some unique stuff.
You're talking about the one behind it, that one?
Yeah.
Well, when that one is used, it floods the parking lots
Yeah.
for C and D buildings.
You want to
So
see?
trust me, I used to live in D building, I now live in A building, so.
So yeah, so the Tuesday after that rain, it was like these 2 ponds were full. The pool was like an island of water flowing between, I guess, building E and pool out to the road. This half of this parking lot was underwater. And then it was flowing down the road. And then there's another little basin here where everything was flowing into. And then there's actually a pump in that basin. Pumps it back uphill. Doing that until the groundwater can infiltrate and get rid of the pump cycling. And then
As our river passes.
See, my house,
It runs out to the right.
and every time there's a hurricane.
some bad haircut stuff will get cleaned up. This, I mean, ultimately, this site it's helpful that there's topographic relief. So actually things can move downhill and actually get drainage to move and it'll flow right down the boat ramp during a hurricane.
Or by my house, it might have gone. Right from
So,
24.
Yeah, we're actively working with
John, there across the street.
the developers who are actually gonna come up with a drainage fix for the HOA. We'll present that to the HOA. And yeah, because they're not gonna, HOA is not gonna let them move forward with these until they feel good about drainage being fixed. In a nutshell.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other public comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve contingent on parking and then the David, the language on the set aside 10%. Is the whole neighborhood can absorb it? If not, then that site specific must absorb the difference. Is that good enough? Okay.
Second.
As long as everybody else understood what he said.
All in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
All right, so what that means, because this is a preliminary plat approval, before they can move forward, they will need to do a final plat approval. With either everything installed or with bonding for the improvements. And actually have some documentation on stormwater and septic and all that sort of stuff.
Will that come back to this board?
For final plat approval.
I think that's our last agenda item. One final opportunity for public comments. Hearing none. Comments from the board members.
John, I love your building across the street from us.
Absolutely.
Coming out, we look so much better.
Feel well.
Welcome, Phil.
Yeah.
Doug, congratulations
Yeah.
on the new position.
Yeah, really, what a prize. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to adjourn.
One thing, can I say something?
Oh, please.
Just to let you know, earlier today, I did receive a text amendment request that you'll be looking at next month to allow the use of property within a B1 zoning district for private transportation facilities, taxi cab service, basically. So be thinking about that. You'll be looking at that next month. So
Would it be a building structure, housing, taxi cabs?
basically
Or
an
just a lot?
office, an office where a taxi cab service operates out of and has their cars and.
As their cars.
So right now, it's currently only allowed in an LIW zone. They're interested in a specific location within a B1. But just something to ponder. Look through the ordinance, see if you and think about it, and look at our maps and that sort of thing.
Motion to adjourn? Motion. Second,
Second.
all in favor? You're adjourned.
Marshall.
Yeah,
Doug.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do I need to sign things now?
Oh, that's
Sure.
serious.
Just write it down.
You're good.
Reunion.
Yeah.